goodness.
I know. Well, you know, we got to tell the jokes while we still have them.
That was bad.
Well, of course it was, but I get to tell it every year. It's really great.
I've heard that one before.
Yeah.
That wasn't even good. I'm sorry.
It doesn't have to be good. It just has to be
It
corny.
has to be like, yeah, it has to make you. It has to make you cringe.
Yeah, there you
More
go.
grown.
There you go. As long as you cringe, it was a good joke.
Yeah.
It was
Right.
very
Bible.
cringy.
All right. So let's see. I left, and you guys went over the third, fourth, and fifth commandments, right?
Fifth?
Four.
I only
Third and fourth. Third and fourth commandments, right?
I just remembered on the car right over
Well-
because she reminded me.
The fifth is thou shalt not kill, so.
Right. You got that one. All right.
Oh.
All right. Well, let me do this. We're gonna go down the line, and we're just gonna do the commandments right now. All right. So Drew, I'm gonna start with you. What's the first commandment? Is that the first one? All right, excellent. Thank you for the help. All right, commandment number 2. Go ahead.
You shall not take the Lord's name in vain.
Perfect. All right, commandment number 3.
Remember the Sabbath day and to keep it holy.
All right, excellent. Commandment number 4, Isabel. Honor father and mother. Excellent, 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 excellent. All right, now, we're going to go over these in the book here. We're going to start at page 44. Okay? Page 44 in your catechisms. Okay? And lastly, we'll start with Aubrey. Why don't you read that blue section for us?
What does this mean? We should fear and
Well,
love.
go ahead and read the commandment though again.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. We should fear and love God so that we do not despise His word and the preaching of the same, but regard it as holy and gladly hear it and learn it.
Okay. So, Naomi, why don't you read number 51 for us? Yep. Underneath that.
Oh.
Yeah, page 44. There we go.
Which day is the day of rest among Christians? Sunday, the first day of the week on which Christ arose from the dead.
All right. So here, we're going to open up our Bibles. So let's open them up.
Wait, I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Isn't that the day that like God rested when He was making like?
The Sabbath day was, right.
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to get into that here in a minute. All right. So, Caitlin, you read Luke 24, verses 1 and 2. Anna, you read Acts 20, verse 7. And then Drew, if you'll read 1 Corinthians 16, verse 2. So you got to find 1 Corinthians 16. Okay. We're going to start with Luke 24,
1 and 2.
1 and 2. All right? Okay, hold on just for a second. All right, Caitlin, go ahead and speak rather loud, okay?
But on the first day of the week, at early dawn, they went to the tomb, taking the spices that they had prepared. And they rolled the stone, and they found the stone rolled away from the tomb.
Okay. Now, whose tomb was it? Jesus' tomb, right? He's not there. That they found it that way on the first day of the week. All right, and then Anna, Acts 20, verse 7.
On the first day of the week, when we were gathered together to break bread, Paul talked with them, intending to depart on the next day. And he prologued his speech until midnight.
Okay. So,
What's that got to do with anything?
what? Read the first part again.
On the first day of the week, when we were gathered together to break bread.
Okay, when did they meet?
On the first day.
And breaking bread, by the way, here means that they're having Holy Communion.
Oh.
Okay? So it's a worship service. Okay? All right, and then Drew, if you will, 1 Corinthians 16, verse 2.
On the first day of the week,
All right. And what he's talking about there is that they were taking an offering, like we take an offering on Sunday. They were taking an offering to send to poor people. So he wanted them to collect it up, and then once he got there, they take it and take it to the poor. All right. So when you find there, then when did Christ rise from the dead? On the
First day of the week.
right. And so when did the Christian churches start gathering?
First day of the week.
The first day of the week. Now, that doesn't mean it's the only time that they worshiped, all right? But they regularly met every Sunday. That's why we meet on Sunday mornings. That's why we meet.
How come some Catholics meet on like Saturday nights?
Well, sometimes what they do, let me answer that in two ways. First of all, on the calendar, all right, let's do this. Use your fingers, because, you know, I'm from Florida and I only know how to count with my fingers. All right? So, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. All right? So, are we all in agreement there are 7 days in the week?
Yes.
All right. In fact, every culture has a 7-day week.
They have to. That just wouldn't make sense if they did.
Well, there's no reason astronomically with the stars why they would do that. And some cultures only have 360 days in their year. We have 365.
They have longer days.
Nope, same 24-hour day. It's just that they don't count the extra hiccups that the Gregorian calendar does.
Fun fact.
But whether you have, no, I'll be right there. But whether you have a 360-day week or a 365, you still only have 7 days in each week. Now, why do you think that every human group, whether they're believers or not, has a 7-day week?
Just that's how God intended it.
That's how God intended it. Go to Genesis for a minute. Genesis chapter 1. You're right. Well, let's look at that.
Because he had to have all 7 days to make the world.
Well, he made 6 days to make the world, and then the 7th day he did what? Rested.
What Genesis what?
Genesis 1. Just look at that. Okay? All right. All right. Now, we're not going to read the whole thing. But I just want to show you here. Chapter 1, verse 1. Okay? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning on the
First day.
And then you'll find throughout this chapter that when God creates, then there's evening and morning, and then it's the second day and the third day. And he finishes up on the 6th day, and then he rests on the 7th day. Yes?
Why? So did God create like water? Because I know it like talks about how God created the lands and the seas. So was there already like water there? Because it says he's hovering above the water.
Yeah, it's not saying that he didn't create the water. What it's saying is that, okay, he created the heavens and the earth, and now we're focused on the moment when he's about ready to bring life into the earth. Okay? But he's created the water, and now...
Did he create dinosaurs?
Yes, he did. Yep.
Maybe he made dinosaurs and then he saw that dinosaurs were bad and then wiped them out.
Well, no, everything was good. Everything was good. And then sin came into the world and it ruined everything. But yeah, no, and actually, and we'll talk about this more when we get into the creeds. Because the first one is we believe in God the Father Almighty who created the heavens and the earth. We're gonna get into that. But, you know, really, some of the things that you're learning in science just isn't so. For example, just recently, they found a dinosaur, they found dinosaur fossils, and this lady is a convinced evolutionist, believes that the earth is billions of years old. So the dinosaurs died off millions of years ago, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what they say. She found this dinosaur fossil, and it still has skin on it. And it still had blood vessels. And it still had DNA.
I think the world's only like about 6,000 years old.
Well, that's what some think. All right. Now, I think it's more thousands than millions. But the fact of the matter is that if dinosaurs were gone millions of years ago,
That would not still be there.
it wouldn't still be there. And now, on top of that, they have this thing called carbon-14 testing. All right? And carbon should disappear after about 16,000 years. And yet they're still finding carbon in dinosaur bones. So what that means is that they didn't die millions of years ago.
They couldn't.
They died thousands of years
Scientists
ago.
were guessing.
Okay? So, do you create them? Yes. Anything that exists, God created. That also means, by the way, that He created the devil.
Didn't the devil used to be like one of his angels?
He used to be one of the angels.
And he got jealous.
And he rebelled. Yep, yes.
Okay, archangel, how do you say archangel?
Archangels, right?
Archangels. So is that like a demon, another word for a demon, or are they
No.
good? Like I heard something about, I don't know, but I don't know, are they good or bad?
An archangel, well, let me put it this way. The devil used to be an archangel. He's not an archangel anymore.
No.
An archangel was someone that was in charge of a certain number of lower angels that God had created for certain work. And what we know is that, I mean, there are probably more, but what we know for sure is that there was Satan. It wasn't called Satan at the time, it was called Lucifer, okay? The light bearer. And then Gabriel, and then Michael. All right, those are three archangels. And the enemy caused 1/3 of the angels, the ones that were under his control, to rebel. And they were cast out of heaven. So that there's the other two remaining, Michael and Gabriel with their host. But an archangel is simply someone that has rule over other angels. Right? Yes?
I read this book once where, in the end it said something about where it was like the legions, because it was involved with like the devil.
Okay, say that again.
I read this book once where, God had sent another child to the earth, and so had the devil, and one of the kids was the devil's child, and one of the kids was God's, and the kid that was the devil's, when the guy looked into the child's eyes, he saw like the devil's legions.
Yeah.
What are those?
Okay, well, first of all, don't judge anything by that book that you're reading. But a legion is simply it comes from a Roman army detachment. A Roman army detachment was called a legion. Okay, it might be the 5th Legion or the 10th Legion. It would be an army group, and that would have about 6,000 soldiers. Okay, so the devil does have control over the angels that fell with him and also the demons that were part of that.
Wait, so the devil's angels and demons, are they separate things then, entities?
Well, in the New Testament and in the Old Testament, in the Old Testament and New Testament, sometimes demons are called demons, and then we hear about princes or the angels that are on earth. And sometimes there does seem to be a distinction, and we don't know how they're distinct, but they are. But the thing is that, for one thing, a demon can enter a human body or an animal body. You don't see that with angels. They already have a body. Okay? The demons seem to be earthbound, whereas the demonic angels, the satanic angels, can still be in the heavenlies. Okay? So they can move a little more rapidly than the demons can. What we need to know is that they're both allied against humanity and against God's will. All right, yes.
Were demons already created when Satan was banished?
Yeah, well, let me tell you that we don't know. We don't know. And the reason we don't know is because the Bible doesn't tell us. But what we do know is that God created all kinds of different creatures. All right? Both what we don't see and what we do see. And there was a rebellion in many of these creatures. They were created for good purposes, and then they went to God and decided to do their own thing. Yes?
So I heard a thing that, like, there are some, like, really weird things going on in space, and I heard that there's, like, demons or something in space. I don't know if it's true or not. But
Well, I mean, let me put it this way. If demons are earthbound, then they wouldn't be in space. All right, that doesn't mean there isn't evil in space. It's just that would not be what they're... Now, if they followed the human beings on up there,
are there
that'd be
other-
different.
Are there other, like, in different galaxies and, like, different planets, are there, like, actually, like, humans?
Life forms?
Yeah.
Could be. See, your Christian faith does not require you to reject the idea
Yeah,
that there's life on other planets. It doesn't.
But like, wouldn't he, God put it in, I mean, obviously God decides what goes in the Bible and what didn't or whatever, but wouldn't that be like in the Bible or something?
Well, what we know is that God has created all things. All right? The reason that he's focused, the Bible is primarily focused on the earth and on human beings, is because we need redemption.
Yeah.
So God is focusing on what we were, what happened, and what's the cure. Okay? It's not really intended to be a, well, let's talk about Mars now and find out what's going on there, or what have you. Okay? Now, if you were to ask me personally, do I believe that there's extraterrestrial life out there? I would say that theoretically, yes. I don't really think there is, but if it happened, if I saw it, it wouldn't shake my faith at all, because my faith doesn't require me to deny that God can create life somewhere. And the fact of the matter is that if you look at all the other things that God has made, both in the spiritual and in the physical, he's a God who loves life. So I could see him doing it. Yes?
So, my science teacher, so she was talking about something about the black hole or something in
Yep.
space, and she said that this is the last one, and after it closes, the world is going to end. But then she said that that wouldn't happen for billions of years, but that's not true, though, isn't it? Whenever God comes.
Yeah, and see, whenever they start making predictions and telling you that, oh, this will happen for billions of years, but we're all going to die.
In 2012,
All right.
the world was supposed to end, and we were all supposed to be underwater and more than.
Oh yeah, you're talking about climate change. Yeah, climate change. Miami was already supposed to be underwater.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and
You know.
in 2032, I guess on January 2032, the world's supposed to end.
Okay, but here's the thing. The reason that you don't have to worry about that is because Jesus told us right away, you know neither the day nor the hour. Okay, so we need to be ready at all times for his coming. All right, but we won't know the exact day or time, because only the Father knows that. Okay, so don't worry about any of those timetables. We just be faithful to Christ. All right. All right. Did I answer your question? Yeah, he made the dinosaurs for sure. All right.
Holy, that's what we started all of
That's
this?
what we started on.
Oh my
All right,
goodness.
but here, going back to the days, remember, okay, so there's 7 days, 6 days of creation, and then go to chapter 2. Chapter 2 of Genesis. And go to verse 2. All right, and Carson, will you read that? Genesis chapter 2, verse 2, please.
And on the seventh day, God finished his work that he had done, and rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had done.
Okay, thank you. Now, the reason then that every human group has a 7-day week is because remember that no matter what race is on the face of the earth today, all of us come ultimately from 3 families that came off the ark. And they knew and had heard of the fact that God had created the world in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested.
Do we know what day of the week the flood started and like ended?
Not exactly.
It's 40 days.
What do you mean not exactly?
Well, it doesn't tell us precisely. Let's go there for a minute. All right? Let's see if it tells us precisely, all right?
Where is it?
Genesis chapter 6. All right? In chapter 6, God tells us that there's going to be a flood. And then in chapter 7, he tells Noah and his family to go into the ark. Okay? And then in verse 4, this is where we start getting a date. All right? But it actually is based on Noah's age. Okay? Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters came on the earth. And Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him went into the ark to escape the waters of the flood. All right?
600 years.
Okay? Now, 11, verse 11 now, okay? In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day all the fountains of the great deep burst forth. Okay? So we know it was the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month.
So it would have been February 17th.
It would, well, or somewhere in what we would call the spring, because again, we're talking about the Hebrew calendar only had 360 days, and they had different months. Their month actually starts on their first day of the week. Actually starts on Passover, which would be in the spring. So this is probably happening in the spring. Okay? Yes.
Okay, so how do you like, how do I ask this? Okay, so it's 2019, right?
Right.
And back then, how did you register the year? Like, how did you say it?
Just like that.
No, but like, was there like a year 1, year 2, year 3, and then it kept going?
Oh yeah, they did. And in fact, in the Hebrew calendar, I believe this is year 5,000 something.
Yeah, because BC and then Anno Domini. I don't know what
Why is it
BC is.
2019?
BC stands
Yeah.
for before Christ, and
Before-
AD stands for like after something.
Anno
After
Domini.
death.
Yeah, Anno Domini, the year of our Lord. Okay?
After what?
The year of our Lord. AD doesn't mean after death, it means the
Yeah.
year of our
So
Lord.
then
I know,
why
I
is it
thought it meant after death for like
2019 then
ever.
if
I
it's-
did too.
So it's
Well, okay.
5,000.
All right, but that's the reason. All right, it's a good question. The reason that is called 2019 is it's 2019 years after the resurrection
Oh.
of Jesus.
So then they restarted the years over again?
Well, it wasn't done until later on by a Christian priest, because they decided to go with a Gregorian calendar instead of what they had earlier. And then after they got done, they realized they made a mistake, because according to the calendar that we have, Jesus was actually born, because they had the records. He was actually born about 4 or 5 years before
He actually was.
So then,
the year 1.
Isn't that why Easter is like on a different day every year because of the way the Hebrew calendar matches up with his?
No, the reason it's a different day of the year our way is because in the Council of Nicaea, unfortunately, what you had was a movement to remove Easter from the Hebrew calendar and put it on a solar calendar, which is what we have. Okay.
wait,
We run by the sun, The Hebrew calendar ran by the moon, okay? By full moon and then half moon and what have you, whereas ours is solar, okay? So and the reason for that was that they were very unhappy with the Jewish people, and so they decided, we're done with you, and we're going to detach as much as we can our Christian faith from the Jewish roots. You really can't do that. But they were mad, all right? And so they changed Easter to go with a solar calendar rather than a lunar one. The lunar one is the one that's used for Passover and the festivals of the Jewish feast days. So it moves because it's a solar, but it would still move even if it was on a lunar calendar, because you'll find on your calendar that Passover is not on the same time every year. Okay? And so, but interestingly, this last year, Easter was on the third day after Passover. So the one time it actually fit what it was supposed to be.
So do
But the change was because of the Council of Nicaea. Okay, yes.
So do Hebrew people still think it's like nowadays? Do they still think it's like year 5000 or something?
If you're a practicing Jew, you certainly recognize the year that the world kind of runs on, but at the same time you have your own calendar for your religious views that you keep, and that's they still think it's 5000, what have you. And I think they basically are running from the time of the Exodus on. Okay.
So technically the year we're living in is wrong. It's not the right year.
Well, it's not the right year if Jesus hasn't come. It is the right year if he has. Okay? Because with his coming, there's two different covenants now. There's the old covenant. See, when the Hebrews are running by the old years, they're saying that the new covenant never came. We're still running this way. Nothing has changed. Whereas with the coming of Jesus, the calendar changed. Okay? That's not something that anyone's saying. It's a sign of how important Jesus is. Okay? All right, so anyway, understand then, guys, that you have the 7-day calendar comes to us from the very beginning. So the question that we need to ask is, how come we're worshiping on the first day of the week instead of on the 7th day, which is Sabbath? And the answer is because Jesus came, the early Christians, who were also Jewish, decided that they were going to worship on that day because now something new has come. Okay? So it's not that they're ignoring the Sabbath law. They're just moving it to that day, to the day when Jesus rose from the
So
dead.
wait, was Sunday actually like the first day, and then Saturday was like the last one?
That's right. That's true even on your calendar. Go look at it. It's true. Sunday's the first day of the week.
Yeah, but then on the last day of the week, aren't we supposed to isn't Saturday supposed to be the Sabbath day then? Or is it still supposed to be
Well,
Sunday?
Sunday
Because it
is like
says on
the
the
day
last
'cause
day of the week.
it's the day Jesus rose from the dead.
Yeah, the reason we worship on Sunday is because that's the day that Jesus rose from the dead. Now, if you wanna worship on Saturday, you can. Okay? And the reason sometimes the Catholics worship on Saturday is mostly out of convenience.
Yeah. My grandma's
Yeah.
Lutheran church.
Yeah.
They have like a night, I think, because it's like a really big church, they have a Thursday night service that you can go to, or you can attend Saturday night or Sunday morning. Like they have 3 different options.
Yeah, it has more to do with convenience, because actually in the Catholic Church, Sunday is considered the holy day of obligation. If you don't show up to church on Sunday, you're in real trouble. That's why you'll often see people going to church on Sunday from all over if they're Catholic, because that's a holy day of obligation and you better not miss it. Okay? So That's why they do Saturday. It's convenience. But everybody used to worship on Saturday until Christ rose from the dead. Okay, well, the Jewish people did. Okay. All right. Let's see. Any questions? Any more questions? No?
Oh, wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, in Noah and the ark, it says that they had every kind of animal ever on it.
Yeah, they had every kind.
Other than fish.
Then why are we still discovering new animals at like almost every single day then?
Okay, well that's a good question. And the answer has to do with the word kind. Okay? How many species of dog? I mean, how many types of dog do you think there are?
Like a million.
hundreds.
There's hundreds, right? Hundreds. But they all actually came out of one kind.
So could that be like, it could be like just a wolf, and that would be dog?
A wolf would be a dog kind. And then, that would, everything actually came out of
Dog.
that. You know why? Because human beings bred them.
What kind of dog?
Like
Did all the
every.
dogs come?
Well, it would be like a wolf creature, and then all the dog kinds would come out of that. Like for example, you got elephants, but then you got several breeds of elephant, and then you got your mastodons and your mammoths and all of that. But guess what? They still are elephants.
Yeah.
All right. So you have one kind that basically all the other subspecies would come out of.
Okay.
That kind of thing. And by the way, the other thing that we often think of, sometimes when you're looking at Noah's Ark, they always want to put all these adult animals on there. But you know what? You can actually fit a whole lot more if you had younger ones,
Because they're smaller.
because they're smaller. So it doesn't say they're all adults. It's just different kinds. All right? So a lot of what you're seeing now is a result of those kinds breeding out and creating, more variety. Okay? Like for example, if you look at a finch, Darwin did that. He saw a finch and he said, "Oh, evolution." No, adaptation. But because a finch still was a finch, it didn't change.
If evolution.
It just adapted. In some places, a larger beak, and some a smaller beak, but they were still finches. They all came out of the same kind. All right.
Yeah, like what you're saying, if evolution were real and at the rate like it went, if we were billions of years old and came from Neanderthals, by this time we would not be the humans we are. Like we'd probably be almost animal-like.
Yeah.
Again,
Well,
because that's how we have to survive in this world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is that ultimately, and I want to say this very clearly, if evolution were true, they would still need God. And the reason they would still need God is because when they say this is what they say. Well, it was just sludge, really. And then all of a sudden, at the right moment, at the right time, at exactly the right place, boom, this lightning hit. And it became this pool of whatever that living thing was. And then all of a sudden, at the right time, at the right place, boom, another strike of lightning. And basically, here's the thing. If you're saying, which a lot of evolutionists do, that we're talking about just chance, pure chance. Well, if you're telling me that something had to happen at the right time, at the right place, over and over and over and over and over again, that's not chance anymore.
Yeah. Who would have
That's
produced
order.
that light? Who would have produced that lightning bolt?
Yeah.
Who made the atom? They said, "Oh, we came from one atom and just boom, we're there." Who produced that atom? Where did that atom come from?
Right. The problem with evolution, ladies and gentlemen, is that evolution cannot, and this is the main part where they fumble over, because they can make excuses for everything else. But where they fumble over is this: where did life come from? And the fact of the matter is that if you talk to someone who believes in atheistic evolution, ultimately you have to tell them you believe in magic. You believe in magic. Because ultimately we all agree, the Bible agrees with that there was inorganic stuff, rocks, dust, those kinds of things. And life came out of lifelessness.
Yeah.
All right? And I got to tell you something. I have never seen that, have you? No.
Like this picture can't just predict.
Oh, good job, Aubrey.
Yeah.
I'm so
It-
good.
it-
I'm sorry.
It requires a creator to make that happen. Now, the Bible gives the answer, and it's God who breathed life into it. But yes,
Okay, so we have our own like rulings and stuff about like heaven. Yeah, like when we die, we either go to heaven or.
yeah.
But like for animals, do they just go to heaven no matter what, or do they have their own like sins or whatever?
Well, I'll tell you what. When it comes to that, I will tell you that the Bible tells us nothing about on what basis the animals will go to heaven or
Yeah,
not.
but I feel like
I feel like that's something that we don't really need to.
We don't.
worry
But
about.
the reason for that though, don't spend a lot of time worrying about it, because the issue is this: did the animals cause sin to come into the world?
no.
No.
Well, then I don't.
Human beings were the ones that caused that. All right. So the issue God has is let's redeem humanity, because by the way, in Romans 8, he says once we're redeemed, he's going to redeem the rest of it. So Fluffy will get redeemed. You don't have to worry about Fluffy, but you do have to worry about you. Okay? Because Fluffy isn't the problem with sin. We are. Okay?
Who is Fluffy?
Just using a word. Could
Fluffy
be-
is fluffy.
Fluffy's fluffy. You don't know Fluffy?
Oh my gosh, Anna.
Do that. Wow, no Fluffy.
Oh, Fluffy, that's your puppy, isn't it?
No, that was Cuddles.
Oh.
All right, well, let's look at 52. Let's see, Parker. Read that for us, please.
How should we keep the day of rest holy? We must rest from our daily labor, that the time may be used for our instruction in the fear of the Lord. We must earnestly hear and study the Word of God, both in our homes and in church.
Okay, go ahead and read that passage from Luke there.
Blessed are those who hear the Word of God and observe it.
Okay, so for what purpose do we honor the Sabbath day?
To worship, take time off to worship God and thank Him for everything we have.
Right, and also to,
Repent and restore our minds and bodies.
okay. And what are we doing right now?
We're talking about Him and.
Right, we're trying to learn His Word, right? That's what part of this is for, okay? All right, and Isabel, why don't you read 53 for us?
Has the Lord appointed these resting days to be used only in reading and studying the Word of God? No, He has appointed such days also for the needed rest of mind and body. Mark 2, verse 27. Jesus said to them, "The Sabbath was made for man, but not man for the Sabbath."
Okay, so the Sabbath was made for our benefit. And we benefit when we are listening to God and praying, but also when we just rest. Okay, and by the way, rest could include fishing. It could mean going out and playing ball.
Taking a nap.
It could be doing anything that isn't, that, you know, is not your regular work. It could be restful, okay, to do that. All right. Okay, Aubrey, number 54, please.
How do we misuse the day of rest? When we neglect and despise the word of God. Hebrews 10:25. For not forsaking our own assembling together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. When we do work or take part in activities that either are actually sinful or turn our minds away from God, He keeps from profaning the Sabbath and keeps His hand from doing any evil.
All right, so like, for instance, you know, if you're going to do some work on the Sabbath that's actually sinful, yeah, you're violating, well, you shouldn't be doing anything simple anyway, but you're violating the Sabbath, okay? Or you're going to do something that turns your mind. Now, turning your mind away from God means turning your mind towards something that's wrong. Okay? That kind of thing. All right. 55. Caitlin, why don't you read that, please?
Is any work permitted on Sunday? Yes, any work of necessity
Yep.
that cannot be delayed in any loving kindness we may show our neighbor who is in need. Luke 14, 1-6.
All right, why don't we open that up? Luke 14, 1-6. All right? Luke 14, 1-6. All right, and Naomi, I'll have you read that, but Luke 14, 1-6. Okay, just give us a minute to get there. Are you guys there? All right. All right, you guys, you there? No, Luke 14, 1-6.
If you have this Bible, it's page 873.
I was going to say what page mine was on.
Luke 14, 1-6.
Oh, yours is only page like 1,000.
All right,
1,209.
Luke 14, 1-6. Got it? All right, go ahead, Neil.
One Sabbath, when he went to dine at the house of a ruler of the Pharisees, they were watching him carefully, and behold, there was a man before him who had dropsy. And Jesus responded to the lawyers and Pharisees, saying, it is lawful to heal on the Sabbath or not. But they remained silent. Then they took him and healed him and sent him away. And he said to them, which of you will have a son or an ox has fallen into a well on Sabbath day, will not immediately pull him out? And they could not reply to these things.
Okay, so it's perfectly acceptable to do good on the Sabbath, all right? That's why, for example, sometimes you'll have like nurses and doctors who aren't able to be at church on Sunday because they're in emergency rooms. Well, that's acceptable work on the Sabbath when you're there to help somebody in need, okay? All right. Right, let's look at, real briefly, let's look at the fourth commandment, Anna.
Oh, yay.
47.
Wait, can I say what it is really quick?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Just wait, I gotta find it. Can I read it right there?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Honor thy father and mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee.
Okay, what does this mean?
Means that we should fear and love God so that we do not despise our parents and superiors nor provoke them to anger, but honor, serve, obey, love, and respect them.
Okay.
And then page 47.
Go to page 47 there. And I'll just have Drew.
Yep.
I'm going to have you read number 62 for us, please. On page 47 in the Catechism.
Why must we honor our mother and father, our father and mother? Because God has placed them over us to care for us. Leviticus 19:3-8. Every one of you shall
Reverence. Yeah, show honor to.
his mother and father.
Okay, thank you. All right, and that's really the very first thing. The reason that you honor your father and your mother is because they're the ones that God has given you to take care of you, to help you, and to guide you. Because, you guys are turning into teenagers, and at some point, at some point, you're going to get into this, and maybe you're there already, I hope not, but at some point, you're going to sit there and look at mom and dad, and you're going to say, make sure you don't say this out loud if it's in your heart, all right? But you'll look at them and you'll start to think, I'm smarter than them. I know more than they do. No, I don't need their advice. I can do this.
I already.
By the way, let me tell you something right now. If that's going through your heart, you're wrong. You're wrong. But every child has that thing go through their head. And then when you get older, you find out that your parents, they're pretty bright. They knew what they were talking about.
Not always.
See, well, you'll find out. But anyway, the thing is, you need to remember that as young people, they've been where you are. You haven't been where they are. And that's why we need to listen to our parents, because they can guide us through some things so that we don't make the mistakes that they made. You think your parents made mistakes when they were kids?
Probably.
Probably. Yeah, they're human beings. But you know what? They learn from it. And as their children, you will benefit from their teaching how not to get and go in the same places that they went, which were not good for them. Okay? So that's the very first reason. God has given them to you as a blessing to help guide you. Okay? All right. Parker. Number 63, please.
Our children to show that they honor father and mother by respectful, loving, and willing obedience, and by good behavior to the parents, both in their presence and in their absence. Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right.
Okay. So, yeah, not just while they're there, but when they're not there. Okay? Any questions about that? Comments? All right. Carson, why don't you do 64 first?
Who must we honor and obey besides our parents, all those whom God has placed over, such as guardians, employees, teachers, and government. Romans 13:1. Every person is to be in subjection to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those which exist are established.
Okay. Now, that's very important, because what we need to understand is that we show the same respect for teachers, governing authorities, that we would to our parents. Does that mean we always have to agree with them?
No.
No. But it does mean that we need to respect the office. All right? By the way, I want to tell you something, just as an example. All right? Now, it was talking about government here, because we're told that all government is established by God, all of it. Now, I want to let you know something, and I'm not trying to be political, I'm just letting you know how things work, all right? The last president we had, what was his name? Barack Obama, right? Okay? Now, I didn't vote for him both times. Didn't care for him, didn't care for his policy. He might be a nice guy, but I didn't care for his policies. But you know what? I always prayed for him, and I always respected the office. Okay? Because it's God's governing authority. And I tell you something, the thing that really is hurtful right now in our nation is that we now have people who are not respecting the office of president just because they hate this guy, Donald J. Trump. And let me just say, whether you like him or not is immaterial. He's the president of the United States, and you need to honor the office. And that's where we've lost it as a nation. We're being rebellious. So it's not a matter of whether you agree or disagree. We need to remember that all authority is given by God, and so we need to respect the office, even if we don't agree with the people in it. Okay? That makes sense? Just like you may not agree with your teacher. Your teacher may tell you something that you think is absolute godly good. But you know what you don't do? You don't go up there and give them a piece of your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get in fights with teachers, but like our music teacher, he was really crabby last week, and
Yep.
he freaked out over something so little. So I'm like,
Oh my
I-
goodness.
he
Okay, guys, funny story
I
really
said
quick.
I'm like, you've never gotten this mad over this before. Like, what is the matter? And he slammed his book down and then walked out of class.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
All right.
I got a
Well,
funny story.
all right, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. We don't want
I know. Yeah.
to incite people to anger.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, can I say something though?
All right, go ahead.
Okay, this week in health class, we had a sub, and he was like, "You guys aren't sitting in your seating arrangement over there." And I told him, I said, "Yeah, that's because we don't actually sit in that." And I told him that like twice, and he screamed at me in front of the entire class, and I started laughing. It was so bad.
My
I had
All right.
in that class too, and I just started
business
laughing. Oh my
teacher.
goodness.
So we were in a group project, and we had to recreate a picture, and we had to go into like this like art app and then print it and
Mhm.
like a puzzle.
Yep.
And one of my friends was having trouble with her drawing, and she wanted to know where the specific tool was because I did a drawing, and she said, "Where'd you get that from?" So I mean, I had to go over there and point it to her because it's kind of hard to say
Mhm.
instead of actually physically showing where it is.
Yep.
And my teacher sees that, and he's like, "Get away from her. That's her project. You don't do that." And I looked at him, and I'm like,
All right, but here's the thing. All right. So maybe the teacher is angry, or maybe there's something going on in their life or
Yeah,
whatever.
my teacher was just crabby.
But
I
the
don't know.
one thing that you don't do, because you want to respect the office, because that's a God-given office, you don't want to talk back, you don't want to give little facial things.
"Too late."
You just want to be obedient, okay?
We can start laughing when they yell at us, though, right?
No.
But why are like the teachers so lazy though? Like whenever they're always like, "There's no stupid questions," and then you ask a question and they scream at you for not knowing what it is.
And I'm
All
like,
right, well-
I'm sorry for asking questions. No, and then your teacher's like, "You can always ask for questions."
Yeah, and then they scream at you the minute
Yeah,
you come
exactly.
up and ask.
Okay.
Like,
Wait,
what do you
actually,
what do you
no.
want?
All right, no, wait. Okay. But understand that we don't want to talk like that about them either.
Why not?
We were
Yeah, but
saying
sometimes they're dumb.
Yeah.
we were saying in an English class one time when we were
Yeah.
correcting our vocabulary, and next door in the math room, the 7th graders are having math class,
Mhm.
and we just hear, "You fool! How do you get a 92?" Our math teacher yells, and then you just hear clapping. And we were all just sitting there completely quiet because even our
Do you
English
know who got
teacher,
yelled at?
Dave.
But
But,
why is there always that one kid in every school where it's like in the middle of class and some teachers have their door open and then you just hear the kids scream in the hallway?
Yep. Okay, there's
All right,
we
well,
are
guys, I gotta close this up. All right, but here's the thing. My point to you is this: that when you're dealing with teachers or anyone else in authority, if there's a problem, then be a people that pray for them, okay? But don't get angry, don't provoke, none of the little facial things. No, I mean, I'm serious. Let's be as helpful as we can be, all right? All right, now, you had a question. Okay, all right.
No offense, but like teachers are really crabby. Like,
Well,
Well,
that's-
sometimes-
Teachers should like kids. My teachers don't like
well,
All
they
right.
have to get up in the morning and
Some
do
of
with
them.
us, so I mean.
Yeah, sometimes,
I get it.
look, let's remember, okay? The thing to remember is that teachers are human beings, just like you,
Yep.
and they have, their lives are not perfect, just like yours. And sometimes they're dealing with things you don't know about. So it's important for you to just be respectful. Amen? Just be respectful. All right, now,
I have a question.
okay,
Did we pray before we started?
no, we'll pray after though.
Okay.
Okay. You're right, and thank you for reminding me.
I didn't remember.
Okay. Okay, let's look at 67. Who's up? Isabel. What's that say?
What is God's promise to those who honor their father and mother? It shall be well with them, and they shall live long on the earth. Ephesians 6:1-3. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is your first commandment with the promise, so that it may be well with you, and that you may live long on the earth.
Okay, so what's the promise if we honor our parents?
We'll live long lives on earth.
Right.
I read this
And
before
we'll
and I thought
prosper.
it was talking about the parents will live long.
No, it's you.
You'll live longer?
You'll live long in the land. In other words, you'll have a prosperous life.
Oh, yay.
Okay? It will go well with you. Now remember, when we're talking about prosperous life, it don't necessarily mean you're going to have a 3-car garage. Okay? But it does mean that God will prosper you in everything He wants to do in your life. Okay? All right. Next week, we're going to meet upstairs because we're doing a party down here for Betty. And we're going to do we'll look over the 5th and 6th commandments. So I want you guys to look over commandment 5 and 6.
Can I read 5 really quick? Please.
Okay, hurry.
Okay, ready? Thou shalt not kill. We should fear and love God so that we do our neighbor no bodily harm, nor cause him any suffering, but help and befriend him in every need.
Okay.
And that also means hate, because hate
Thou
is
shalt
murder
not
in your
kill.
heart.
That's right, includes that too, and we'll get there. All right, let's pray. And then remember, 5th and 6th commandments,
I
okay?
thought it said thou shalt not kill. I forgot to.
Put the H in?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's pray. So, Father, we thank you for this time together. We pray that you would bless these children, that you would plant your word deeply in their heart, that you would give them wisdom and understanding. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, be careful going home. Clean up whatever messes you have. All right.
How do you get to 94?
Look at the ground.
You get 92! Oh,
Okay, thank you.
I can be the new camera person.